Hello, welcome back to my channel, The Slimy Soap. This is my next video in my series called Exploring Archetypes. So in this series I give you a bit of a peek into my exploration with certain archetypes that I've been studying and how they relate to my life. So I use this deck, the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck by Kim Krans. It's not a deck I tend to use for like pulling lots of cards at once. I tend to just pull one and work with it. And I also love learning new things. I love learning new things. I'm a permanent student. So this is just kind of my chance to kind of like research and look at different archetypes and work out what they mean and how they relate to what I'm going through at the moment, and just generally learning about them really, which I love to do. And I like using this deck just because it's really nice to look at. There are other archetype decks out there, but this one I'm really drawn to the artwork. So this month, well, I actually pulled this card maybe the last week in April, and I've been working with it for like the last week in April and then the first 3 weeks in May. I'm actually now on to my next card by the time I film this, the one for June. But so the card I pulled for May, or for most of May, was the Maiden card. Now, initially, I was a bit disappointed. I was like, I don't really see how that one's going to relate to me at all. But boy, was I wrong. So my initial thought was, well, I'm not really a young person anymore. I am in my mid-30s. So I don't really identify with the Maiden. But when I read through the book, and I'm not going to read the whole kind of part of this, but there was part of it that I wanted to just talk through. So in this book, in the guidebook, Kim Krans gives you a heading and some other headings that relate to it. So we've got the Maiden, the Virgin, the Princess, the Innocent. And like I said, my initial reaction was, well, I'm not young anymore, so I don't see how it's going to relate to my life. But I'm trying to find which bit it was that I resonated with me. I can't remember. So it's the first archetype in the trifecta of the Maiden Mother Crone, and she has so much to learn. Where was it? She must grow up. The bit about subjecting her to a challenge that leads to the next phase of womanhood. And when I read that bit, the next phase of womanhood, I was like, well, okay, so I don't identify with the Maiden, but I also don't identify with the Mother, because I don't have any kids, so I'm not an actual, like a literal mother. And then I started thinking, oh, well, maybe I am stuck in the Maiden. You know, I never grew up, kind of thing. Because I never became an actual mother, I never identified with the mother archetype. I'm just going to go straight to crone one day. So that seemed really interesting to me. And I've just got my notes here. I'm just going to read, what did I write down about this? I said, I feel like this is telling me to work on what I might need to do to move from Maiden to Mother. I feel like I'm stuck in the Maiden archetype because I never became a literal mother. And then I made a note to myself to explore some of the mother aspects and to see how they might relate to my life. But then I read the Go Deeper section in the guidebook, and the Go Deeper section says about studying the story of Persephone, studying Alice in Wonderland, or any of the princess figures, which I'm assuming are like Disney princesses. And it says, what do they learn on their journeys that I can learn from, is what I wrote down. So then I decided, that I was going to work on those. So I'm just going to read the keywords as well. The keywords for this card were innocence, curious, enchanting, sensual, full of vitality, virgin, princess. And the dark aspects were pretends, projects, denies, and fantasizes. The keywords I'm not necessarily drawn to, but the go deeper I was, because I'm really interested in mythology. So the Persephone side of it interested me, and also I love Alice in Wonderland. Well, I did when I was a kid, and I have, you know, I've got special editions of Alice in Wonderland books and things in my house. I've got multiple copies of it. I have multiple decks that are related to Alice in Wonderland. So those two stories in particular is where I thought I was going to find my message to take away from this archetype, if you like. So, and I definitely did. So I did a bit of a deep dive into both Alice and Persephone. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go through what I found out, what I learned, and kind of the lessons that I'm taking away from this card. And then I'm going to go into some of the kind of spreads that I did to try and go a bit deeper with my own journey. So first of all, I looked at Alice in Wonderland, and I found an article which I will try and link below if I can, but I'm going to just read out the reference just in case. So it was from acmi.net.au, and it was an article written by Matt Milliken, and it was called 5 Life Lessons from Alice in Wonderland. So what I did is I wrote down the 5 and kind of my reaction to those, how they relate, which I'm going to talk you through now. So the first one is that risk has rewards. So in Alice in Wonderland, she follows the White Rabbit and has a magical adventure. And during that adventure, she has new experiences, she gains knowledge, and it's not all good. There's some scary and horrible things that happen to her as well, but she learns from it. So the kind of moral of that is that risks are scary, but we need to take risks, because otherwise we just stand still and don't go anywhere, and that can also be scary. We're not challenging ourselves if we're standing still. So I'm just finding my notes. So that was my kind of reaction to that one, and I feel like I don't necessarily take risks. I have become like scared to take risks in my life, and I feel like I am just kind of going through the day-to-day, nothing really happening sometimes. So that's definitely a message for me. I want to take more risks in my life. And the second one from this article was discover who you are. So Alice doesn't really know who she is. I think it's the caterpillar asks her who she is and she doesn't know. And through that journey, she kind of discovers more about who she is. And I wrote down for here that I did kind of lose myself a bit. Now, without going into lots of details, I did lose myself for a few years. I didn't really know who I was. I'm trying to come out of that now. At the end of a bad relationship, and I kind of lost who I was as a person rather than as part of this relationship. And I have been working on that, trying to work out who I am again, and the things that were me, the core me, if you like, the core self. So that really resonated with me, the discovering who you are. And also this might link to why I still feel like I'm stuck here and I haven't progressed to Maiden, Mother and Crone. So that was the second one. The third one is accepting the differences of others. Now this one I don't feel like I have a problem with. I'm quite accepting. So I didn't really write a lot down for this one because I feel like that one's not really an issue for me. I always say, and I've said to multiple people, I'm a teacher, so I've said to students before as well, like if everyone was the same, if every single person in the world was the same, it would be so boring. So I don't really feel like that one has a message for me so much at the moment. So number 4 is don't get stuck in the past. Now this one does resonate for me. So there's a quote from here, which again was from the website, but it's also a quote from the book, and it says, "It's no use going back to yesterday, I was a different person then." So that's Alice when she talks to the mock turtle, I think. So now that did resonate with me. Like, I need to close the chapters in my past so I can move forward and progress through this archetype trio. So that one definitely does resonate for me. And the last one was stand up for yourself. So not letting bullies get you down. So this is in reference to Alice encountering the Queen of Hearts during the book. And I put it, I'm not very good with that either, like standing up for myself, which I mentioned in the last Archetypes video when I was looking at the warrior. That is something that I have struggled with in the past, standing up for myself and what I believe in. Too much people pleasing. So that's definitely something that resonates with me as well. So they're the areas that I feel like I need to work on from doing a deep dive kind of on Alice in Wonderland. So they're the lessons I can get from Alice in Wonderland as a Maiden character. And then, I don't know if I did a spread now or if I did it after I looked at Persephone as well. So I've got loads of tabs in my notebook because I've done other things in between. Yeah, I went into Persephone next. So I looked into Persephone as a Maiden kind of character. And again, I want to kind of see what I can learn from her story and her journey. So she is Persephone is a goddess, like a dark feminine goddess. And so it's from Greek mythology. So she is the daughter of Demeter and Zeus. And she grew up, had a happy childhood, but then as a teenager, Hades, who I believe is her uncle. The Greek mythology is weird, like the whole families thing. But anyway, so Hades came up from the underworld and kidnapped her. And basically forced her to marry him. There's lots of different versions of the story. But that's the basic story. And she became the queen of the dead, of the underworld, and I can't remember what actually happened, but so she ended up spending 6 months above, like on Earth, and 6 months in the underworld. I think it was like a deal that her mum and Hades came to. So she is also the goddess of like springtime as well, because that's when she comes up from the underworld and she spends 6 months on Earth and then she goes back. So she has this kind of split personality type thing going on. I wanted to write some other stuff down on here as well. So I think that's about it. So Persephone is about duality. You know, she has this kind of sweet, innocent maiden archetype traits for 6 months of the year, and then for 6 months of the year she's queen of the underworld. So she symbolises both spring, which is like new beginnings and new growth, and she also represents death. And she's torn between her mother and her husband throughout this time. Like she's kind of maybe doesn't know who she actually is, because she has to be these two different people depending on where she is and who she's with. So lessons that I feel like you can get from her story is about finding your own voice, not letting everyone else tell you who you are, and standing up for yourself, which links back to one of the lessons from Alice in Wonderland as well. Not pleasing others all the time. And again, I said about people pleasing is an issue that I do have. And also embracing your shadow side, you know. It can be good to embrace your shadow side, but also stick with your kind of childlike innocence sometimes too. And there's no reason why those two things can't go hand in hand. And that does really resonate with me. So you can kind of integrate your shadow side, but also keep some of your childlike innocence too. You can also get the lesson that's about finding who you really are, like your true self, and understanding that power comes from within, so it comes from within you. So, so this whole myth, the whole myth around Persephone, really does resonate with me. I've always kind of felt like I have like a darker side and a lighter side as well. I suppose everyone probably does, but that duality. I always thinking about that meme that was going around when Wednesday came out on Netflix, and it was, well, there was just a picture of like Enid and Wednesday next to each other, and it's like, you know, two sides of my personality or something. And I always thought that was quite funny. Oh, and also just another one I thought of as well, the one where there's two houses and there's like a Barbie house and like a goth house next to each other, which I think was also going around at the same time, and people were saying like, oh, one of them's Wednesday, one of them's Enid. That really resonates with me as well, because I feel like I'm both. I feel like I'm both Wednesday and Enid. I feel like maybe in my own, like inside, I feel like I'm Wednesday, but other people, so maybe how I project my personality outward, other people probably think I'm more like Enid. But yeah, I've definitely got a Wednesday side, and that kind of seems the same sort of thing with Persephone. She's got 6 months where she's kind of like Enid and 6 months where she's like Wednesday. So yeah, so the main lessons that I want to take away from that story are learning who I am, standing up for myself, stop people pleasing, and then from Alice, taking more risks as well and getting out of my comfort zone more, and also doing more shadow work, which I'm actually doing this month, because if you've seen my, I don't know which video I'm going to put up first, if you've seen my monthly wrap up for May, I'm going to be working with the Dark Wood Tarot quite a lot this month, in June. So I will be doing quite a lot of shadowy type work. And I feel like that's like a process I do need to go through at this time in my life. I feel like that would be really helpful. I really like both of these stories that I have researched during this time working with this card, with the Maiden card. I feel like I could have done a deep dive into different Disney princesses as well, and would have probably got the same types of lessons from them. So I like that. The reason I didn't go with the Disney princesses, I suppose Alice is kind of, she got turned into a Disney princess with the Disney movie. I don't really like the whole having to find a prince to help you find who you are type side of the stories. So these two resonated more with me. So yeah, so after I did this, the kind of delving into those two stories, I then did a couple of spreads to help me on this journey. So the first one I did was a spread called My Comfort Zone, which I will put a picture up of if I can find it, which is the credit for that spread is Healer Josephine on Instagram. I don't know if she has YouTube as well, but she definitely has an Instagram and a podcast. And I worked the tarot cards around this card. So I'll put the picture up of the spread as well, because I've already done the spread. I didn't do it on camera. So there was 6 cards in this spread. The first prompt is, how am I being called to expand beyond my comfort zone? And I pulled the 7 of Wands for that position. And the takeaway I took from that, or the reading I took from that, was to challenge myself and to work on self-confidence. I feel like it represents that, like the setting boundaries and not people-pleasing kind of side of what I've just been talking about. Kind of making me aware that I am actually the main character in my life, and I haven't really been treating myself as such for a really long time. So I need to put myself first a bit more, stand up for myself and my beliefs, and put some boundaries in place, really, is what I'm taking away from that. And that is very much out of my comfort zone, because I don't like confrontation, and I don't like being like the centre of attention. Even though I'm a Leo, I've never really resonated with that part of being a Leo. So that was a strong start to this spread and linked very much to my work with this card. So the second position was, what is keeping me in this comfort zone? And I pulled the Judgment card, and that made sense because I care too much about what other people think. Or I have, at least in the past, and definitely throughout my whole childhood and teenage years. I've always cared more about what other people think than what I think about things myself. So I need to stop doing that. Position 3 is, what part of me is clinging to this comfort zone? And I pulled the 9 of Wands. And I wasn't really sure what this meant, but I kind of sat with it for a bit, and then I worked out that I think it's maybe a fear of actually being successful. Because I have been used to feeling like a failure, even though I know I'm not. I know I've achieved a lot of things in my life, and I have gone through a lot of things in my life that I should be proud of. But I still have that little nagging voice in my head telling me I'm a failure. So I feel like it's probably in reference to that, and that maybe things that have happened in my past might be clouding my view of the future. I can't really see, or I don't really believe, or I haven't really believed in the past, that I can have a really good future again. So I need to realise that actually I can, and I need to keep telling myself that, and just kind of keep working on that, because that's going to be a key to getting out of my comfort zone. And actually getting out of my comfort zone will also help with that too. Card 4, or position 4, is, how can I help this part of me feel safer to grow and expand? And so I pulled the 7 of Swords for that. And I feel like this is kind of, the 7 of Swords can be like someone's being deceiving, someone's lying to you. I feel like in this case it's me lying to myself. And like my anxiety, I tend to kind of think things that I know aren't true. So if I acknowledge that and work on that, that's going to help me feel safer and feel like I can do more. I can do things. So I need to work on my self-confidence. Card number 5, how will it benefit me to go beyond my comfort zone? And I pulled the Magician, which I thought was really good. So for 2 reasons. 1, so it might help me find my creativity again if I'm going beyond my comfort zone. And also just me being able to create change in my own life. Like I said, I kind of feel like I'm just going through the day-to-day sometimes, but I don't feel like I can change things. But if I just start little baby steps, getting out of my comfort zone a little bit every now and then, I'll become more confident with it, and then I will be able to make big changes if I want them in my life. So I liked the Magician in that position. I thought that was really good. And then the last card, position 6, was, what might I lose if I stay within my current limits? And I pulled the 5 of Pentacles. So I feel like that is telling me, if I stay within my current limits, then I'm not going to be able to see the good fortune that I could have in my life. If I always just focus on the negative things, then it's going to keep me in that energy. And I need to be able to expand and grow. So I need to focus on the things that are good in my life, where I have been successful, where I am successful, and then keep going towards that energy rather than the past. So I feel like that was a really helpful tarot spread to do, and I feel like it did really fit in with the work I've been doing with the Maiden card this month. I've got another tab in here and I can't remember what else I did. I must have done another spread. Oh yeah, I did do another spread. So again, I'll put it up if I can find it. So this one is called Feeling Lost, and it was by Little Dark Press. So it's about finding who you really are, learning who you are. And that was one of the lessons that I took from both Alice Wonderland and Persephone earlier on. So this, I like how this spread was laid out. It's a bit of like a maze and has dead ends and things. So yeah, so I've got, so there's 7 cards in this spread. So the first one is You Are Here. So it's like me now, who I am now. And I pulled the Page of Swords. And to me, I read that as me being on a learning journey. So specifically this learning journey with the archetypes that I'm doing, but also a lot to do with, like I said, about my anxiety and how my mind works, and trying to understand that so I can understand why I'm thinking certain things and when to believe it and when not to believe it. So I'm learning, and I'm on that path at the moment. So that's where I am now. So then what I think I want, which goes towards a dead end, that's position number 2. So what I think I want, and I pulled the Hermit. Now I am very, very comfortable in the Hermit energy. I'm very happy just sitting on my own in my house and just doing things on my own. I like my own company. I very rarely feel actually lonely. I do like being on my own most of the time. I like seeing my friends and things as well, and family, but I am very comfortable in that, and that is my comfort zone. So I feel like getting out of that would be good for me. So that's what I think I want to be alone all the time, but maybe I don't really. Number 3 is what I actually need. And I pulled the Queen of Swords. So, and I wrote down, so what I actually need is to be honest with myself, but also still compassionate with myself. I need to understand that I am on a learning journey, and to not beat myself up if I don't need to be harsh with myself. Like if I feel like, if I do believe my mind when it's lying to me sometimes, or if I do just still have days where I just want to be the hermit, I don't need to change everything at once. I need to be a bit more compassionate with myself. And also I feel like the Queen of Swords is also very articulate. So I feel like I need to be able to express myself more clearly and more confidently. So that's what I need as well. Number 4, which goes to another dead end, is what I need to give up. And I pulled the Lovers card, and for this I just wrote down the I kind of need to give up ideas of what love is, and not necessarily just romantic love, just how, like with any kind of love, any kind of relationship, not necessarily romantic, but romantic as well. Like when I was a teenager, I was very much like, oh, you have to have that movie love, you have to be in a rom-com to be happy, and that's not true. And whenever I had relationships, whenever I've gone into relationships with that mindset, you're then always disappointed because life isn't a rom-com. So I feel like maybe I need to give up that. Well, I feel like I kind of already have realised that that's not true, but I feel like that's something to give up. Maybe also the idea that I am unlovable. I've definitely felt that before. So maybe I need to give up thinking that way. Number 5 is what I need to pursue. And that was the 9 of Swords. So the 9 of Swords is the kind of anxiety card, the worry, fear, nightmare card. So I need to pursue the understanding of where my negative thoughts come from, where my anxieties come from, and start working towards who I really am, like my true self. And I can do that in baby steps. I don't have to do it all at once. I thought maybe I could write down... Oh, I think I read this. I can't remember where I got this from. I've written down action suggested. I don't remember where I got this from. I put write down all the horrible thoughts that you have about yourself, and then each week choose one to rewrite in a positive way or a positive point of view. I can't remember where I got that from. If I remember, I'll put it up on the screen, but I cannot remember where I got that from, but it's good advice. So all the things that I, like the lies that I tell myself, I need to kind of start working through those and reframing them. I like that. I don't remember writing that down. I don't remember if I got it from, but I like it. So that's a good thing to pursue. And number 6, I like how this is kind of 5 and 6 are kind of on a cycle. So that what you need to pursue and what you need to face are kind of linked together. So number 6 is what I have to face. And it's linked to what I said in number 5. So I've got 5 of Cups for this. And I was referencing the exercise again. So they're writing down the things that you say to yourself that aren't true and reframing them. So I put that this exercise might bring up some sadness, but if it's done properly, it will be good in the long run. So now is the opportunity to change that cycle forever and break free from that cycle. So I might need to face some darkness, some sadness, but it will be beneficial in the end. And then number 7 is the end game, so kind of the outcome of doing all of this. And I got the Moon. And what I wrote down for that is that something new is taking form and rising from my subconscious. So I feel like doing the kind of shadow work, and going through that process is going to be a good thing, and that's the end game. So both of these spreads were really helpful. I did write down that this one I had I had 3 majors in this spread of 7. I also had 3 swords and had 1 cup. So I feel like it is a big thing for me in my life with all those majors. Like this is going to be the key to unlocking a lot of things, confidence wise, and yeah, I think it will be really good. And the 3 of Swords links to kind of the anxiety and thoughts that aren't necessarily true. Excuse me. So these have been really, really helpful. And I've really enjoyed working this card. So initially, when I was like, no, I don't feel like this is going to resonate for me, I was very, very wrong. And I have enjoyed working with this card. So I hope that you have enjoyed going on this journey with me. I know it's just me just talking about one card for about half an hour. But I do like doing this series, and it shows you how I kind of work with cards like more long term, which I've been doing for the last few months now with this deck, and I will continue to do because it has really been really helpful, I feel. So yeah, so let me know what you think in the comments. Does any of this resonate with you? Do you like this kind of video? I have had some comments when I've done these videos before that people do like seeing how people actually use their cards rather than just walkthroughs and flip throughs and things like that all the time. I do still like doing those videos as well, but I do like doing these ones and just showing you a bit of an insight into what I've been working with. Obviously this is only kind of one part of my practice, but it's one that I like. I like researching things, and I like seeing how things link to other things. So I have been enjoying it. So yeah, let me know what you think. And yeah, and I'll see you in the next video of this series next month. So yeah, thanks for watching this video. Like it if you liked it, comment below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.